What's up, words? Your boy Trey Retro _ GT back for another episode. I'm finally back. It's been a while, man. Hope that everybody's been smooth. Everything's been good for you. And you're having a wonderful start to your summer. I know it's been super busy for me. Still trying to fight this post-grad fatigue, but here we are. I just wanted to come on and talk about a few things that have happened in the last few weeks. Talk about that, updates, where we're at, what's going on, X, Y, and Z. So first things first, I finally graduated. I finished my DSW program at the University of Kentucky. I am officially now Dr. Gary Trey Taylor. Also, we're going to keep the G.Taylor Show still, but it's with Dr. Gary Trey Taylor at this point, obtaining my doctorate in social work degree, which is a real degree, and also from a real accredited program, the University of Kentucky, that has a BSW program, MSW program, PhD program, and a DSW program. Check it out, University of Kentucky. More known for just basketball and sports, things of that nature, man. But yeah, so I graduated. And at some point, I'm going to talk about what this process ended up looking like. At some point, we'll talk about, the whole process, leading up to the capstone project, how the capstone project went, the graduation party, the celebration, the overwhelming impact of achieving this degree that, for me, I didn't think a lot of people were interested in. I didn't think people cared about it that much because it was just, oh, Trey's getting another degree. Here we go. You know what I'm saying? But really understanding the literature around that. So I want to kind of get into that a real bit. And we'll talk about that. And then I think somewhere down the line, as I continue to get back into my content game and really discussing what has happened, what has shifted in those moments, especially moments that I missed out on because I couldn't create no content on. We'll talk about that somewhere down the line, like the differences between DSW and PhD for social workers. Should you go get a PhD or a DSW at this moment in your career? A lot of people have reached out to me about getting their DSW and what that entails. And I think I want to do a separate episode for that because that's really personal decision. And although I'm all for us getting our doctorates and doing the thing, I can't really tell you what you should or should not do. I can only tell you my experience and why I did it. And that was, that's the piece for me. Now, let's go back into it. Why the reason I did go get my DSW? Well, again, I didn't need it. I didn't need it at the point in time in my career. I was at LCSW. I was also a supervisor in social work. And I was already teaching. So I was already teaching at the academic level in higher institutions. So I technically didn't need it. But, I already had a goal to get a doctorate degree at some point, whether that was PhD or DSW. I didn't find out about the DSW until later on when I started working with a bunch of DSWs. And I have my friends who have DSWs. PhD was an option, but I didn't have enough. I could not do another 4 to 5 years of school. And I'm not doing no more school at this point. I've been in school most of my life at this point. So I'm pretty much over with school. So for me, I just went and got it because one of the positioning of me in my career, wherever I wanted to go into the middle of my career to the end of my career, as far as, where do I see myself riding off to the sunset, whether that's, becoming a dean or director in an academic program, whether that's, doing state federal policy work, or whether that's, according to just continue to build up on my own business and program, consulting program, going forward. Like, I wanted to have that thing to solidify me in case I decided to, maneuver into different spaces. So, again, thinking about that, that is why I went into that space. And I'll tell you right now, I've been keeping up. If you go on the channel, you'll see my different pinpoints throughout the DSW career. It was 2 years, asynchronous, meaning it was all online, still had some virtual live sessions, things like that. This whole capstone process at the end of it is intriguing. There's a difference between the PhD and the dissertation process. So for the capstone project, it's a combination of 3 different products. I talked about that: the systematic literature review, the conceptual paper, and the application paper. In the application paper, we get an opportunity to create or build off existing, literature or interventions that might be beneficial. Revamp them, make them better, or create our own. My topic, which is working with addressing mental health needs in the rural areas, it was a bit challenging because there wasn't a lot of research on Black men, rural mental health, and leadership components on how to affect change in human service organizations from a leadership perspective. So I was grasping from different areas to try to make things fit for that actual application process for that paper, which to me let me know that I probably could have done the PhD programmer because I was creating new knowledge. And that's something that I, thought about at the end. And I'm like, well, I'm not going back. And, we can create new knowledge from here. But it's just a cautionary thought to think about that sometimes you might not have it all initially, but if you are able to understand and know where you're going full fledged from start to finish, or at least a semblance of it, then you could probably determine if you want to go DSW PhD. But anyways, so I did do that. I put the videos up. It was a overwhelming process to be able to complete that actual last component of presenting my research information to my family and friends. We had about 50 people on that actual live virtual session of me presenting my capstone to people. And shout out to my facilitator, my teacher, my friend at this point, Dr. Hips, who was my facilitator and mentor throughout the entire program, and walking me through the process, making sure that everything was smooth and straight away. So we still got to connect on doing publishing some research, because that's one of the things that you want to get into as well. But after that, man, everything was smooth, everything went well. And it was over. Now, my trip to Kentucky was a whole different story. I drove out to Kentucky with me and my family, my mom, my dad, his fiance, my kids, my wife. We drove out to Kentucky for the graduation ceremony. And the graduation ceremony was amazing. Now, I'm be honest with you, I drive. I consider myself a commuter, and I'm consider myself, at any point in time throughout the day, I can be in Petersburg, Virginia, or DC. I could be in North Carolina at some point in time. I drive, but driving through West Virginia was a challenge. It was a challenge. It got me. We went through the off 95. I was trying to avoid tolls. Don't do that. Just keep on the highway because that's windy enough, and just going down the mountains and stuff like that. It was a beautiful scenery, a beautiful thing to see. But yeah, if I could have flew, I would have flown. But either way, we got out to Kentucky. Kentucky is an amazing area and city. Very, 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 just the University of Kentucky takes over downtown Lexington. And it's bigger than most campuses that I've seen or actually visited myself. But it was an amazing time. I got to able to see some of my peers that I, did my online program with. Got to see some of my teachers. I met Dean Miller. Dean Miller had on What the Dunks. I'm still trying to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? As I was sitting there waiting, I saw him handing out the little diplomas. I was like, he has on What the Dunks. That's interesting. And so I actually tagged him on LinkedIn, and he actually responded back. It's like, yeah, confirmed that he had him on. I was like, that's wild. My dean responded, but also he had on What the Duck. So that's cool, man. It was a good experience. I met, like I said, some few of my teachers and mentors. I wasn't able to get to see everybody. It was a lot of moving parts, a lot of people. Kentucky is a huge program. I want to say that I think they graduated over 4,000 something students. Collectively, it was a huge program, and they went by very quick. So I dropped some of the video clips in that of what we experienced and seen in that. But yeah, man, it was a good time. It was a good experience. I'm glad I went and walked. That's one of the things that I always pride myself on doing, is if I'm gonna graduate, I'll make sure I'm gonna walk across that stage and confirm it at that moment. And so yeah, it was a good time. I bought my cap and gown, took my pictures. I wanted to solidify this moment. I felt like my bachelor's and master's, I did did the thing, but I didn't do the thing. And it's one of the things I didn't do. my bachelor's, like my master's, I did go on trips right after. And I should have did that for my doctoral degree. I don't know why I didn't, but I don't know if my schedule would have panned out to allow for that to happen. But with my doctorate degree, I said, all right, we're going to do the pictures. We're going to have, a party, a cookout for it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be intentional with celebrating the success in that moment. And I think ironically, as I'm even sitting here talking about this, I think that my intention to celebrating the moment also drew more attention to other folks celebrating the moment for me as well, and seeing it in that manner. And it also being one of those individuals of black men who, has not received, well, not has not, but the small amount of black men who have doctorate degrees in this moment. I mean, I think it's less than 2% at this point. Uh, it is a milestone moment. And then I started looking around and seeing like, oh, like a lot of my community, we don't get a chance, opportunity to see doctors up close unless we, go to the medical doctor. We haven't get a chance to see doctors outside of the medical scope in that manner. I'm blessed to the opportunity to be around these higher education professionals every single day of the week, wherever I'm teaching, I'm on campus. I'm kind of insulated into a different world where I'm surrounded by folks with PhDs and DSWs. Like my whole department is is mostly DSW. And then I think my director is a PhD. The next department, all, PhD, DSW. So my day to day includes folks with, higher education degrees. Even in my group chat, I'm the third of us that have DSW. So out of like the six of us, we have, I'm sorry, out of five of us, three of us have DSWs. And then I'm in a community with other PhDs, community with other DSWs. So that's some of that, you take for granted because it's day to day. But then when you take a step back, right, that's not the average. That's not the day to day for a lot of folks. And even in my other group chat, in my other community of family and friends, right, like, we have a mixture between, associates, bachelor's, master's, and then I'm the only doctorate. And so even when we have those conversations, right, like, and then you think about the immediate piece of your family, friends, your community. So as I was reflecting, on earning this degree and being intentional with celebrating, these aspects of this degree and what it means to be a doctor of social work, I was overwhelmed with gratitude and humility around how much community it took to get to this point, and the sacrifices of folks in those different spaces to get me to this point. And this is not just the immediate circle and what we see today. I'm talking about before I was born, and then also as a child leading up to this moment. And so like I've lost a lot of loved ones. I've talked about that in the different various relationships of my life, but I even lost a cousin during this DSW program. And, I remember when I talked about him, like he was one of my few family, not a few, but one of my family members that was really intentional about, making sure that he was checking in on me, but also knowing how busy I was to make sure I was good to fill the call or, chop it up with him or whatever. And he was very supportive of everything that I've, been doing from, the degree program to we talking about, basketball coaching down to even when I was making t-shirts, he was always supportive of that in that space. But I think about the medical community, even having conversations with one of my best friends, my childhood friends, and the things that, we talked about and how he, was protective of me growing up. My uncles, my dad's friends, my mom's friends, my grandma's friends, my wife's friends, but also her family, my in-laws, and then my grand-in-laws. You know what I'm saying? Like, just the community and the sacrifices and the attention that folks pour in to see you succeed. That's overwhelming. And I'm thankful for each and every person that has contributed to help me to get to this moment, because you can't get to this level without that community. And I understand some people, I understand my privilege, right? I understand my privilege of having those individuals. I've had conversations with people who, when I talk about that, I grew up with my great grandparents and I grew up with my grandma and I grew up with this, and some folks can't say that. They like, I never had that experience. And for me, it was tough pill to swallow, because I thought that was everybody's experience, right? Like, oh, everybody, especially, you black, you from the rural area, you probably grew up with this extended family member or your great grandparents or grandparents, you were in community with them. And that's not the case for everybody, black or not. And so that was one thing that I had to learn and understand, that there is some elements of your story that is rare. That is not just the normal for everybody. And you have to be aware of that. You know what I'm saying? So when you ask, like when folks ask, okay, well, how did you get there? Or how did you do it? How did you get to this point? And you talk about community. A lot of people don't have the community that you have. And so ever since I graduated, I had been in tremendous reflection about that. Not only from the DSW perspective, but just life in general. The things that have developed, and I'm just reflective back over time. God is showing me different elements of how, he's shown up, but people have shown up as well. And so that was extended with my church community as well. They celebrated me recently. We also had a graduation celebration here at my home. My wife, she put it on along with my mother-in-law, friends from church, cooked, things like that. And people came together to show love, support, and to celebrate. My grand-in-laws, he DJ'd, everybody came out. Like I had family members I hadn't seen in so long. I had my guys, Chris and James, come out of state. Chris coming from PT.6, James coming from Detroit out to Virginia to celebrate with me. And they came to Virginia. They love Virginia. They love Richmond. They want to come back. So that's also a good thing. But then it just, people I used to work with, people I do work with, people I supervised. I mean, people bought different gifts. I'm appreciative of everybody who bought gifts. I didn't ask for any of that. I was just like, show up, come celebrate with me, whatever. And they did just that, man. I got a lot of amazing gifts, from shirts to, cards to sneakers to a slim briefcase, which I was really looking for. I appreciate that. My man's Terrell and his mom. It's overwhelming. It's just like really overwhelming for all the love and support. But again, kind of going back to the community aspect of it, and how important that is for folks to succeed, but everybody, at least buying in their own way. Because I talk about it all the time with men, talk about it all the time with just how we support men in general with their mental health, physical well-being. Like, I have different groups of friends, family that I go to that are in community with, that we've crafted very much intentional aspects of how we interact with one another and how we check in on one another. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's important when we start talking about, brothers needing community, but brothers needing, some form of camaraderie, brothers needing some form of validation, and understanding that they're not alone in these different things. And so I promise you, anytime I text about I wanted to quit the program, nobody said anything. Nobody was like, well, this is what you wanted. You know what I'm saying? Or you here for a reason. There was nothing nobody said about quitting. It was just like, you here, you already done now, might as well keep finishing it. You know what I'm saying? So it was so empowering in that aspect. And the opportunity to celebrate with my family, my friends, my community, my loved ones, my church folks, from, all the thank yous on social media to in person, to the cards, to the gifts. It's amazing. I am thankful for each and every one of y'all. And I could not do this without my community. And my community is large. I have an in-person family, friends community, church community. I also have a digital community from, this podcast, from LinkedIn, to a social work community. Folks I connect with, I don't even have their numbers, or I don't see them on social media as much. When I see them in the community, see them at conferences, is always love. I am thankful and appreciative for each and every one of y'all. This DSW degree has been a journey, but it's also been a moment of reflection and understanding how important community is to achieving your goals, man, achieving your goals. And so, but again, I want to thank those individuals, my community, definitely my wife, my family, my friends, everybody that contributed to make this thing happen. My graduation party, other celebratory moments at my church, my community. I want to thank each and every person for, you know, bestowing that upon me, but also supporting me in that moment. And yeah, man, yeah, it's been a journey. So as it stands now, I'm in the summertime. I'm not sure what's next. We will continue to sit with this accomplishment. I have some things working, but they're still working. They're just in a working phase right now with different opportunities. I will be at NASW this week coming up on June 10th through 13th. I will be presenting on Friday about engaging Black men in therapy and social work. I do hope to see some social workers up there and we can have some conversations. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it where we're at now with everything. We'll see what the future holds. I have some things in order that I would like to do for rural mental health. But we'll see what happens, man. So listen, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the podcast. Let me know what you think. I have some new content coming out here soon. We're going to do some different things. And yeah, we have a new Facebook page that's up called the G.Taylor Show. You can follow that over there as well. But the main goal is to get folks to subscribe to YouTube, to get us to 1,000 subscribers so we can get this channel monetized. And hopefully, as we go forward, this channel will get back to some interviews. We'll also get back into more of the educational content around social work, entrepreneurship, being creative, the sneakers, the lifestyle, stuff like that, but get all those different elements back into that fold. But hopefully I'm back for now off my hiatus. I tried my best to create, but I just had to finish out this degree. And now we are officially Dr. Gary T. Taylor. All right. Y'all take care. See y'all in a few. And hope you have a good summer. Bye-bye.